Superman and Lois, Season 1, Episode 11, A Brief Reminiscence Between Cataclysmic Events. This episode starts out in a flashback, and we stay in the flashbacks for at least the first half of the episode. As we saw at the end of Episode 5, The Best of Smallville, during a flashback episode of Clark starting his journey towards his destiny. This episode picks up on that flashback of Clark making the journey to the North Pole with the red Kryptonian crystal that he puts in the snow-covered ground which builds his crystal chamber, the Fortress of Solitude. After its construction, it is there that he learns who he is, where he's from, and begins his training. As he is training, we see him literally transition from boy to man. He returns home after several years of training at the fortress to see his mom. He tells her he found out who he really is and where he is really from, and that he met his real biological father, and he also learned why he was sent to Earth. She asks him why he was sent there. He tells her to be the Earth's champion. He goes into the town of Smallville hoping to see his friend and high school crush, and is devastated to learn that his high school crush, Lana Lang, has moved on with her life and is now engaged to another man, Kyle Cushing. He returns to the farm crushed, and his mom gives him something, which is something that will forever change his life. Clark then moves to Metropolis and is searching for a place to live when a green car is speeding out of control on a busy freeway because the car's brakes have gone out, and we see once again, like we saw in the pilot episode, Superman's first save, where he saves a boy from getting crushed by the green car as it plows off the freeway. After that, the man in the blue suit and red cape is the talk of Metropolis. Clark ends up getting a job at the Daily Planet as a reporter, and his boss, the editor-in-chief, Perry White, partners him with the veteran reporter, Lois Lane, and they both end up working on their first story together about people whose homes and businesses are being destroyed in Lower Metropolis by an arsonist who wears a metal mask and a trench coat. They both work non-stop to help the people in Lower Metropolis to get the story on the front page. After piecing together the story, Lois goes down to that part of town and encounters the arsonist, who she now knows is Henry Miller. She is almost burned alive by his flamethrower when the man in the blue suit and red cape intervenes and saves her life for the very first time. The arsonist throws two grenades to different sides of the street. The man in the blue suit and red cape stops one by blowing it up with his laser beam heat vision from his eyes, and he speeds to the other one and uses his body to shield an explosion from two children and their mother. Lois and the man in the blue suit and red cape bring the arsonist to justice. Lois and the man in the blue suit and red cape formally meet and introduce themselves. He tells her he reads her articles in the Daily Planet and that he also heard she was in trouble with his super hearing. As they are talking, he notices a weird black shadowy image in the shape of someone. He ignores it and continues talking to Lois. As he flies off, a bystander goes up to Lois and asks who that is. Lois responds to him as she looks up into the sky and says, Superman. For his first interview with Lois Lane, Superman appears on the Daily Planet TV news broadcast show called The Daily Planet Today, and as they are taping it, Lois goes to her producer and friend frustrated, and she tells Lois that Superman is really into her, and Lois says she is in love with someone else, and she says it is Clark Kent. Superman overhears her with his hearing, and Lois returns to the anchor desk, and Superman tells her he's a lucky man, and they continue the taping of the show. Clark takes Lois to Smallville to meet his mother. Martha embraces Lois and is welcoming to her, and they get along very well. Martha tells Clark that Lois is wonderful. Later on that evening, Clark takes Lois outside and takes off his glasses and gracefully flies up and hovers over her, revealing to her that he is in fact Superman. After that, they continue to be in love. He takes her to the Fortress of Solitude and proposes to her. She accepts his marriage proposal. They get married at the farm in Smallville and start their new life together. At the fortress, Clark tells the hologram of Jor-El about the marriage ceremony. All of a sudden, Jor-El tells him to get out of the fortress. Clark asks the hologram of Jor-El what is happening, and Jor-El tells him to go. Jor-El screams, "Get out of here, now!" Clark wakes up in his bed at his and Lois's apartment in Metropolis with a worried look on his face. Clark, shaken by what just happened, sits on the edge of his bed thinking, what was that? Was that a dream or was that real? Lois comes in, and he asks her what day it is. She tells him that she is pregnant. He is happy about the news, but he tells her that something strange happened right before she walked in. But she tells him she is excited and she hopes for a girl. All of a sudden, Clark is somehow transported to a further point in his life when they learn they are having twin sons. As he and Lois are talking about having twins, Clark looks out of the window of the door to the exam room and sees the weird black shadowy image in the shape of someone that he saw the first time he rescued Lois. This time he moves towards it to see what or who that is, and that is when he learns that none of this is real and that he is in an illusion or dream. He goes out the door of the exam room and sees that the shadowy figure he has been seeing is none other than Morgan Edge, Tall Row. Clark asks him what he has done, and Tall Row tells him, "Easy, Kal-El. I would hate for you to miss the big moment." Then Clark is transported to the day the boys are born. Clark is trying to make sense of all this. Then Clark looks over and sees Tall Row standing beside his newborn twin sons. Superman wakes up in the Fortress of Solitude with a device on his head that has allowed Tall Row to look into Kal-El's mind and see his memories. Superman takes it off and stands up and turns around and sees Tall Row, and Tall Row says to him, "It is good that you are awake, Kal-El. Now we can discuss the terms of your surrender." Superman looks at him with serious, angry eyes. Superman throws the device that was on his head to the ground. He tells Superman he knew he would be weak from the solar flare, and he used the device on Superman to navigate his mind and memories so he could understand his reasons for not standing with his Kryptonian people and him. Tall Row tells him he is not impressed by how Kal-El has lived. Tall Row tells him if he does not do as he wishes, then he will not only tell the world about his secret, but he will also tell the world that Superman has a family. Superman tells him no. The hologram of Jor-El appears as they are talking, and Jor-El says to Tall Row that his son is none of those things that Tall Row says he is. Tall Row tells Superman that Jor-El has corrupted him and that Jor-El corrupted Lara Lorvan, their mother. Superman tells Tall Row that he spoke to her. He tells him that she believes there is still good in him. Tall Row says sure, that she helped destroy Kryptonian lives. Jor-El comes back into the conversation and says those same lives were innocent human beings. Tall Row turns to Jor-El and says enough, that he is done debating with a whisper. Superman says no, he can't let him do this. Tall Row says, then I will make you suffer. He speeds up to the control panel and destroys the red Kryptonian crystal that houses Jor-El's AI and destroys it. Jor-El's last words to Kal-El are, "I love you, son," and the hologram disappears. Superman gets angry and speeds up and attacks Tall Row, and they both engage in a flying fight throughout the fortress and destroy a good portion of it. Tall Row pins Superman to the ground, and he tells him that you are my life's greatest disappointment, Kal-El. He repeatedly punches Superman, knocking him unconscious. In Smallville, Lois is at the Cushing house visiting Lana and Kyle and making sure they are okay. Kyle finally realizes that everything about Morgan Edge was a lie, and he and the rest of the town were deceived. Jordan and Jonathan are in the living room talking to Sarah about everything. Sarah asks Jonathan if she can have a moment alone with Jordan. Jonathan walks out of the room, and Jordan apologizes to her once again about everything and missing the musical review. She tells him she wants to get more serious in their relationship, and they end up kissing. Kyle apologizes to Lois about everything and says he is glad she is part of the town. Lois says thank you to him. Lois, Jordan, and Jonathan leave the house, and they arrive back at the farm. As they are about to go inside, Morgan Edge, Tall Row, appears at the farm. As he lands, he says to the boys and Lois that their dad won't be coming home anytime soon, so Uncle Morgan has come for a visit. Tall Row says to them, so this is the life Kal-El chose. It's even more disappointing up close. Lois tells him he is not welcome there. He looks back at her and tells her, that is no way to speak to family, Lois, especially since you have young boys around. Jonathan asks where their dad is, and Tall Row responds and says when he left he was on the ground, knocked out in his ice castle. Tall Row says that it is an interesting place to build the fortress. He tells them that his fortress is in the desert because he likes to feel the sun on his face. Jordan walks closer to Tall Row in a demanding tone and orders Tall Row to leave now. Lois tells Jordan to stop. Jordan uses his laser eye beams and shoots them at Tall Ro, and Tall Ro doesn't flinch and shoots his back at Jordan. The beams collide, and Tall Ro's laser beams are much stronger and more powerful than Jordan's, and he sends Jordan flying through the air a few yards away, hitting the ground hard. Jonathan goes to his brother to see if he's okay. Lois looks at Tall Ro and angrily yells at him, saying, "Stay away from my sons." Tall Ro says to her that this is all you're doing. You are the reason that made him turn his back on his own people. Lois says to him, "Let them go. This is between you and me." He tells her that they are past that point. Tall Ro lights his eyes up red and is about to shoot his laser vision heat beams at Lois when Superman arrives and lands in front of his family, hitting the ground hard, and is still weak due to the solar flare and the fight against Tall Ro in the fortress. Superman stands up out of breath, saying he will do whatever he asks, just leave my family alone. Tall Ro walks closer to him and says, "Pledge to me that you will submit, and I promise to let them live unharmed." Lois begs Clark not to do this. Superman looks at Tall Ro and says to him, "I submit." Tall Ro says to them, "Take a good look at the man you knew, because it will be your last." Clark turns around and looks at Lois and the boys. He apologizes and says he is sorry. Tall Ro speeds over to Superman, grabs him, and flies up into the sky with him. Tall Ro flies them to the desert. Superman asks what this is, and Tall Ro says, "My home." Then Tall Ro has a flashback moment to when he was a teenager and used his Kryptonian crystal to create his fortress of solitude in the desert. He goes to the rock formation, which is his control panel in his fortress, and the crystal activates the AI of his Kryptonian father, Zeta Ro. He tells his father that on Earth right now he is still a teenager and that it is the year 1987. His father asks if he possesses the Eradicator device, and he tells his father no, because it has not arrived on Earth yet. He tells his son that as they await the arrival of the Eradicator that he must get him ready. Zeta Ro says he will train him and that they must root out all weakness so that he can gain power in this world. He asks his father if there are any other Kryptonians that were sent to join him. Zeta Ro says that question is a weakness, and he says that he needs no one, only me. Is that understood? Tall Ro responds, "Yes, sir." His father tells him his first lesson is the measure of pain, and that he be able to withstand pain. His father's AI activates a very red high energy beam that hits Tall Ro and surrounds him and causes him great pain, and its power sends him to his knees, screaming in great pain and agony. After the flashback, Tall Ro brings Superman into his fortress and throws him to the ground, saying to the AI, "Here he is, Father." The AI of Zeta Ro looks at him and says, "Son of Jor-El, the worst of Krypton." Superman looks up at Tall Ro and says, "He doesn't have to do this." Zeta Ro says to his son and Superman that he begs, his own weakness never stamped out. Tall Ro says he has vowed his submission and that the Eradicator has been taken from his possession. Zeta Ro says, "Good, let us begin." Tall and Zeta Ro both secure the Eradicator within the desert walls of the fortress. Superman then starts going through the same red high energy to weed out his weakness and turn him into the evil Superman. Back on the farm, Lois and the boys enter the house. The boys go upstairs. Lois gets on the phone and calls John Henry Irons and lets him know that it is happening just like he said it would. She says to him that she thinks Superman has turned. Back at the desert fortress, the red high energy beam stops and Superman looks up with his eyes lit up red and his demeanor has changed. He has officially turned evil. And that is the end of Superman and Lois, Season 1, Episode 11, A Brief Reminiscence Between Cataclysmic Events. This episode was something special. Why? Because this episode gave us something from each and every live-action Superman, from the TV screen to the silver screen, and even from the pages of the comics. One thing this episode does, while it is reminiscing, it still manages to move the main story along, and it does so very nicely. The Arrowverse superhero shows began life with a fairly detailed origin story or episode or season. By the time we first meet Tyler Hoechlin as Superman and Elizabeth Tulloch as Lois Lane, both characters were meant to be well established in their world and careers. Plus, not only are they well established as characters already, and that they are both seasoned reporters for the Daily Planet, Clark has already been well established in the world as Superman. Both of them share their lives with each other as a married couple and are parents to 2 teenage sons. This episode answered some of the questions for us from the season's previous episodes, but it left us with some new questions as well. This episode is a genuine love letter to both the fans and these 2 characters and their awesome, long, 83-year history. Here's what was so great about this episode and how it pays tribute to Superman's history. For the second time, we see Tyler Hoechlin don the historic Max Fleischer uniform, plus he also wears the traditional uniform which he has worn most of the season in previous episodes. As far as paying homage to the past, here's how this episode did just that. The opening of this episode shows us young Clark's journey to the North Arctic carrying his Kryptonian sunstone crystal and the creation of the Fortress of Solitude. He is on his journey to find out the crystal's purpose and his purpose. This is very much the first of many nods to Richard Donner's 1978 superhero movie masterpiece, Superman. Clark is even wearing a similar red flannel jacket, similar to the one actor Jeff East wore in the Donner Superman film. Another nod to Donner's film is Jor-El as an AI that runs the Fortress of Solitude, as well as the fortress itself stemming from a Kryptonian artifact. That was the first time we got the notion that Clark had to learn about his powers and alien heritage from the collected memories of his biological father and his people in that film, and it is used in the same way in this series. As far as Clark's training and learning to use all his powers from guidance by Jor-El in his ears and head, it does kind of nod to Richard Donner's Superman movie, but this training scene is more of a nod to Zack Snyder's 2013 Superman movie, Man of Steel, when he is training and takes his first flight and has a lot of unsteady moments as he is training. That is exactly what happens in this Superman and Lois flashback scene. Then there's the scene of Lois and Clark staying late on the job, which has echoes of both the pilot episode of 1993's Lois and Clark: The New Adventures of Superman and the rooftop scene from Donner's Superman movie. It also is reminiscent of the staying late scene at the Daily Planet in the 2006 Bryan Singer film Superman Returns. It is in Donner's Superman film that is the first indication of a romantic attraction brewing between them. What was interesting is how in this episode is Lois's exclusive interview with Superman. Just as in the Donner film, Lois lands the first exclusive interview with Superman. It takes place in the privacy of her own home. But here in Superman and Lois, it is live on TV for the world to see. We find out Lois isn't interested in Superman because she's already in love with Clark. It completely eliminates the old love triangle where Clark loves Lois but Lois loves Superman, but Superman wants to be loved as Clark, which has been a staple of the legend for years, and here they turn it all around, which is fascinating and interesting at the same time. One more thing from that lovely evening scene with Lois and Clark working late. When Clark is getting ready to leave, Lois asks him, "What's your hurry?" In the movie Superman 2, when Lois was suspecting the truth about Clark, she asked him, "What's your hurry, Superman?" Another cool piece of history that this episode references comes from Lois and Clark: The New Adventures of Superman. In the later seasons of Lois and Clark, when Clark would turn into Superman, he would spin himself real fast, changing from his Clark clothes to his Superman uniform. In this episode of Superman and Lois, after his first save, he flies to a phone booth, and instead of changing into Superman, they reverse it and he spins himself real fast, changing back into his Clark clothes.
Here you go, friend.
Thanks. Cool costume.
Thanks. My mom made it for me.
Did you see that?
See what?
It is also reminiscent of the first time he changes from Clark to Superman in Richard Donner's Superman movie when he spins around in the revolving doors.
Excuse me.
That's a bad outfit.
The inclusion of Atom Man in this episode was cool. The character first appeared in 1945 on the Adventures of Superman radio show. There he was Heinrich Milch, hence Henry Miller of this episode. The Atom Man we meet here is based on the visual design of Gene Luen Yang and Guerrero's books. When Superman and Tal-Rho are in his ice fortress and the AI of Jor-El comes on and tries to reason with Tal-Rho and says that his son is none of those things he claims, Tal-Rho says, "I'm tired of this whisper," or "I'm tired of hearing from you, Jor-El." It reminds me of the scene from Man of Steel where the AI hologram of Jor-El is speaking to Zod when he is trying to activate the Genesis chamber so he can turn Earth into Krypton. I love how Jordan tries to go one-on-one with Tal-Rho using his red laser heat vision out of his eyes to protect his mom and brother. He made a great effort, but unfortunately Tal-Rho is way more powerful than Jordan is. I also thought it was great to see Jordan and Sarah's relationship blossom to the next level. To answer the question, Tal-Rho asked his father Zeta-Rho if any other Kryptonians were sent to join him. I can answer that question if we are talking in terms of the full Arrowverse, then the answer is yes. Astra, sister of Kara Zor-El's Supergirl's Kryptonian mother, Allura, was on Earth during the first season of Supergirl. So was Non, and so was General Zod. But if this show never connects to the Arrowverse, then the answer is no. He and Kal-El are so far the only Kryptonians on Earth. This episode was really just one big tribute episode to all the other formats of Superman, including comic books, radio shows, TV shows, and the movies. It was beautiful, and I cannot wait until the next episode. So with all that being said, I'm going to give Superman and Lois Season 1, Episode 11, a brief reminiscence between cataclysmic events. A very powerful and well-deserved A+. Well, I say again, since Superman is being turned evil by Zeta and Tal-Rho, then yes, Lois calling John Henry Irons is probably a good thing, but I still think that Lois and General Lane need to get a hold of the DEO and get Kara Danvers, Supergirl, there to help, and have her bring John Jones, Martian Manhunter, with her. Hell, I say even bring in Brandon Routh's Kingdom Come Superman to come help. Then they should call Star Labs and get Barry Allen, The Flash, Wally West, Kid Flash, and then call Argus and get Cisco Ramon Vibe there to help. They need to also make sure that they call Dr. Caitlin Snow Frost so she can come there to help as well. Shoot, I would even love to see Dean Cain's Superman make an appearance. Also, what the CW needs and who needs to be in the next few episodes, if Superman is going to turn evil, we need a Batman. It would be cool to either see like Michael Keaton's Batman come in, or maybe even Ben Affleck's Batman from Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, or Justice League, or Zack Snyder's Justice League, or Suicide Squad, because those are the ones that Ben Affleck's Batman was in. So, and his Batman was pretty rad. So, but Michael Keaton's is the best. So if any one of those two Batmans was to show up, I would be one happy guy. With everything that's about to take place and everything going on in Superman and Lois right now, they're going to need all the help they can get, and it's going to need to be all hands on deck for turning Superman good again, and also to take down Zeta and Tal-Rho. Okay, that's it for this video. I'm going to say thank you so much for watching. Good night. God bless. I love all of you, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.